In our headlines on this Monday, September 1st, here in South Korea, North Korea's Kim Jong-un is expected to attend China's Victory Day parade this coming Wednesday amid much global attention as the event also brings Russia's Vladimir Putin to the scene. Meanwhile, here in South Korea, the National Assembly kicks off its first regular session under the Lee Jae-myung administration and is scheduled to run for 100 days. And South Korea's exports rose 1.3% in August on year to hit over $58 billion, driven by semiconductor shipments, according to the Trade Ministry. North Korea's Kim Jong-un is traveling to China to attend the latter's Victory Day parade scheduled for Wednesday this week. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung reports.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is widely expected to depart for Beijing on Monday to attend a military parade to mark China's 80th anniversary of Victory Day. With the parade slated to take place on Wednesday, many expect Kim to travel by a special train, passing through Dandong, a border city between North Korea and China. Japanese media outlets, including Asahi Shimbun, reported that security in the city has been tightened. And the fact that parts of the train line from Dandong to Beijing have been temporarily closed raised the likelihood of Kim using train instead of his personal jet Changme-1. Out of 4 times he previously visited China, he used his personal jet twice and taken the train twice. Given that the special train goes at around 60 kilometers per hour, it usually takes approximately 24 hours to travel from Pyongyang to Beijing. Thus, there is a strong possibility that he will pass through Dandong late on Monday night. Also in Beijing is Russian President Vladimir Putin, and if Kim Jong-un does stand together with Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, it would mark the first joint appearance of the 3 leaders, showing their closer ties. When it comes to South Korea, the National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik is to visit China as Seoul's representative, but the Foreign Ministry says the chances of a meeting between Woo and North Korean leader Kim look slim. Meanwhile, ahead of his visit to China, Kim visited a newly built missile production line at a key munitions factory on Sunday. Kim's inspection was reported on Monday through the North's state-run Korean Central News Agency, though the location of the factory was not disclosed. Media outlets are speculating the factory could be in Gangneung province, where many North Korea's munitions factories are clustered. Kim said such a modernized production line will bolster the regime's capability to produce missiles and improve the combat readiness of its missile units. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
And China has kicked off a busy diplomatic week, starting with its hosting of this year's summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and looking ahead to its Victory Day parade this coming Wednesday, as mentioned earlier. Our Kim Do-yeon has more on the summit on its final day.
Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday pledged 2 billion yen, or approximately $280 million in grants to member states at the 2-day Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin, China. The 10-member bloc is often seen as a counterweight to the West and includes India, China, Iran, and several Central and South Asian countries. While not directly naming the U.S., Xi also pledged to fight against hegemony and Cold War mentality amid global trade tensions stemming from the U.S.
We uphold fairness and justice, promote a correct understanding of World War II history, and oppose Cold War thinking, bloc confrontation, and acts of bullying.
Also at the summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the ongoing war in Ukraine and expressed gratitude to Moscow's partners for their support.
We value the efforts and propositions to solve the Ukrainian crisis of China, India, and other strategic partners of ours. The mutual understanding that was reached at a recent Russia-U.S. summit in Alaska heads the same direction, I hope.
On the sidelines, China's President Xi held back-to-back bilaterals, including with India's Narendra Modi and the leaders of Turkey and Vietnam, framing cooperation and mutual respect as the way forward. Among them, the Xi-Modi summit garnered a lot of attention. After years of frosty ties, the two leaders agreed the world's two biggest Asian economies should be partners, not rivals, a carefully worded signal that both sides want to study their ties. Particularly as India has been hit with a 50% tariff by the U.S. and China is still working with the U.S. on its tariff rate.
Our cooperation is closely linked to the interests of our 2.8 billion people and also the global development. We are committed to advancing our bilateral relations based on mutual trust, respect, and consideration.
Reports also indicate a Tianjin declaration will follow, addressing trade and security following tariffs imposed by the United States. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
South Korea has halted a military-run broadcast towards North Korea as part of the Lee Jae-myung administration's initiative to build trust on the Korean peninsula. According to the Defense Ministry, earlier on this Monday, the military has stopped transmitting the Voice of Freedom radio broadcast that covered news related to North Korea, information about democracy and life in South Korea. The broadcast had been running for 15 years, resuming after North Korea sank a South Korean naval ship in 2010. Frontline loudspeaker broadcasts were suspended back in June, and Seoul's intelligence service also stopped radio and television transmissions in July. The first regular parliamentary session under the Lee Jae-myung administration began earlier on this Monday with lawmakers across the aisle adorned in symbolic attire to display their deep division. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young explains.
The first regular session of the National Assembly under the Lee Jae-myung administration, which will run for 100 days, began on Monday. During the opening ceremony, the plenary chamber reflected two different costumes. Some lawmakers wore the traditional Korean hanbok, while others dressed in mourning attire. This came after the National Assembly Speaker suggested wearing hanbok to show a message of unity, while the main opposition People Power Party chose mourning attire to protest what they see as the government and ruling party's unilateral running of the Assembly.
Cooperation and checks are both part of the National Assembly's role. The ruling party should respect the opposition and vice versa, so that the Assembly does not worry the public or divide society.
Lawmakers face a full agenda in the regular session, but with the rival parties at odds, further clashes seem inevitable.
Since this is the first regular session under the Lee Jae-myung administration, the National Assembly's role is more important than ever. We will focus on completing reforms and ensuring stability in people's lives to support the government's success, while working to eliminate the insurrection.
There are many urgent issues affecting people's lives, but the National Assembly has not been doing its job, and I apologize to the public. While today marks the opening of the regular session, it seems that the ruling and opposition parties are still too far apart to work together.
Coming up immediately will be confirmation hearings for the nominees for education and gender equality ministers on Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. Also this month, from the 15th to the 18th, 4 days of government Q&A sessions are scheduled. Each day, lawmakers will question officials on politics, diplomacy, security, the economy, education, and social issues. In October, the annual parliamentary inspection of the government will take place, where each parliamentary committee will conduct inspections in its respective fields of expertise. A direct clash is also expected over next year's budget of 728 trillion won, or around $520 billion. The DP aims to pass it to support the Lee administration's expansionary fiscal policy, while the PPP calls it a populist budget and plans massive cuts. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the trade front, South Korea's exports maintained their upward momentum in August. Our correspondent Park Chun-an covers the latest numbers.
Exports reached an all-time high of $58.4 billion for August, up 1.3% from a year earlier, according to data released on Monday by the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy. Among the 15 major products South Korea exports, semiconductors, automobiles, and ships recorded year-on-year export increases in August. What stood out the most was semiconductor shipments, which in August reached $15.1 billion, up more than 27% from the same month last year, and surpassing the previous record set in June. The surge in chip exports was attributed to strong demand for high-value memory semiconductors, such as high-bandwidth memory, driven by increased investment in the AI industry, while memory fixed transaction prices also remained favorable. Automobile shipments rose 8.6% to $5.5 billion, despite a decline in U.S. shipments due to the tariffs it has imposed. The increase was driven by growth in alternative markets such as Europe and the Commonwealth of Independent States. This marks the highest August performance on record and extends the growth trend to 3 consecutive months. Ship exports rose about 12% to over $3.1 billion, marking 6 consecutive months of growth as deliveries continued for vessels ordered at high prices in 2022 and 2023. By region, exports saw growth in 3 of 9 major trading regions, although shipments to the United States and China saw a decrease of 12% and 2.9%, respectively. Exports to regions such as ASEAN member states and the Commonwealth of Independent States saw an increase of over at least 9%.
Given that exports account for a significant portion of South Korea's economy, the prospect of slower growth due to U.S.-China tensions was quite concerning. However, the overall increase in exports, despite the decline in shipments to the U.S. and China, is definitely a positive sign.
Industry Minister Kim Jong-un commented that the 3 months of steady export growth reflect the competitiveness and determination of South Korean companies, even under challenging conditions such as the U.S. tariffs. Kim added that the government will announce and implement support measures in early September to minimize the impact of U.S. tariffs. Park Junan, Arirang News.
The eastern coastal city of Gangneung has been declared a state of national disaster amid a water crisis as its main reservoir hits an unprecedented low. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Over in the eastern coastal city of Gangneung, a water scarcity crisis has escalated into a full-blown national emergency. Oldboy Reservoir, the city's main water source, has dropped below 15% capacity, the lowest ever recorded level. This comes despite the emergency pumping of 10,000 tons of water a day from a temporary downstream station. But officials say the decline has not slowed, with new record lows being set daily, while the so-called Maginot Line for drinking and household water has collapsed. Water meters are being shut off at 75% capacity just 11 days after restrictions were first imposed at 50%. Public officials and community leaders are carrying out the shutoffs, but residents are already feeling the strain with daily routines like showering, laundry, and cooking becoming increasingly difficult and damage to crops mounting.
The most important part is sharing in your commitment to conserve water, even if it means shortening operations.
On Saturday, President Lee Jae-myung declared Gangneung a state of national disaster. The decision followed a drought response meeting in the city, where Lee ordered ministries to act immediately. The declaration gives the government legal authority to mobilize personnel, equipment, and emergency supplies to ease the crisis. The president also issued a firefighting mobilization order. 50 fire department water tankers will be deployed to the region, delivering an extra 2,000 tons of water every day. In preparation for the worst-case scenario, where even drinking water may run out, Gangneung has been stockpiling bottled water. More than 1 million bottles have already been collected, filling the parking lot of a large gymnasium. Distribution has begun for daycare centers and welfare facilities, and direct deliveries are planned for residents with mobility issues. But rain remains elusive in Gangneung. While showers are expected nationwide on Monday, Gangneung is forecast to receive only 5 to 10 millimeters. Meteorologists say no significant rainfall is likely before September 10th. So far this year, the city has recorded just over 404 millimeters of rain, only 42% of the annual average. Gangneung residents are now bracing for weeks, if not months, of disruption. With reservoirs at record lows, officials warn that the city is confronting not just a severe drought, but a test of survival. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, this year South Korea marks 3 decades since it began development assistance for Uzbekistan. And in light of this occasion, a press poll, including our correspondent Oh Soo-young, was in the Central Asian country to witness firsthand the fruits of the joint labor.
Formerly the world's 4th largest lake with a vibrant fishing industry, the once vast waters of the Aral Sea are now known as the Ship Cemetery. Over 60 years, due to Soviet cotton farming projects that consumed its rivers, the Aral Sea is just now a tenth of what it was. Trade and livelihoods have dried up with the ecosystem.
There used to be plenty of food here. There were many sturgeon, and we could get caviar. After the Aral Sea dried up, many moved away.
The surrounding Republic of Karakalpakstan constitutes over a third of Uzbekistan's landmass, but less than 6% of the population lives here. Desertification has led to frequent salt, sand and dust storms, making it broadly inhospitable for people and vegetation.
Heavily salinated, with sodium flying in from the Aral Sea, this is basically now a wasteland. Even weeds are unable to grow here.
But recently, sprigs of hope are changing the barren landscape. Since 2021, the Korea International Cooperation Agency has funded the Global Green Growth Institute to help 4 districts of Karakalpakstan overcome the impact of climate disasters. Under the 4-year programme, nearly 18,000 people have been trained in climate-smart farming methods, with 6 targeted models designed by the GGGI. One solution is planting windbreak trees to shield fields and crops from salt-laden winds. Drip irrigation and new host-reel sprinkler systems provided through Korean funds save water and improve soil quality.
We've been farming the same way for the last 45 years. The Aral Sea's growing impact has been long known, but until now, there wasn't enough interest in finding a solution.
His field is now part of that solution, growing over 6,000 windbreak seedlings to help other farms prosper across the region. Korean support has also helped new farmers set up shop. Partnering with Nuku City's Mono Centre, GGGI developed training for 40 unemployed residents, with 1.2 Uzbek som, or over $96,000, funding greenhouse crop production. One graduate in her 30s has scaled her home farm to a 1-hectare greenhouse business, producing tomatoes and cucumbers for export.
As much as my knowledge grew tenfold, my revenue's grown tenfold too. I was able to expand my business. Now I have 70 to 80 employees.
Separately, the GGGI provided training and equipment for 16 women with disabilities so they could set up small greenhouse spaces in the comfort of their homes. Looking ahead, KOICA and GGGI are ensuring sustainable finance for future projects nationwide, working with 2 major local banks to issue over $1 billion in green bonds listed on the London Stock Exchange.
We supported the creation of a green finance framework, where funds can only be used for designated purposes. This ensures that the capital will be invested long-term in Uzbekistan's green sectors, including climate-smart agriculture.
Helping increase climate resilience and the quality of life and jobs, South Korea is working on the ground to bring winds of change for a sustainable future. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Nukus.
On the entertainment front, a much-anticipated film by director Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice, has garnered a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. According to film rating website, 17 critics have reviewed the film as of Monday, and it is as fresh as it gets. In fact, one critic claimed No Other Choice is not just Park's funniest film, but his most humane. The film went on screen at the Venice Film Festival last week and received a lengthy standing ovation. K-pop boy band Stray Kids has topped the Billboard 200 chart yet again, this time with its album Karma. Now, this is the 7th consecutive #1 ranking for the group since 2022. And now Stray Kids has become the first K-pop act to achieve such an accomplishment, breaking its previous tie with BTS at 6. Through its agency on this Monday, the group said it was honored and added it would respond with greater performances and music. This year's World Taekwondo Grand Prix Challenge was an opportunity to witness in action the true spirit of sportsmanship. Now, this is according to Arirang's Park Hyo-bin. Do take a look.
The 2025 World Taekwondo Grand Prix Challenge wrapped up on Sunday at the Taekwondo One's T1 Stadium in Muju County, Jeollabuk-do Province. Over 4 days of competition, more than 300 athletes from 32 countries showcased their skills in front of cheering crowds. Throughout the event, the venue was filled with cheers as matches delivered dramatic knockouts, narrow victories, and moments of pure sportsmanship. This year, Team Korea won a total of 2 gold and 5 silver medals.
I was disappointed with an injury at the last Grand Prix Challenge, but I'm really happy to win gold this time. The next Olympics will likely be my last, so I want to prepare well and finish without regrets.
Also, Paris Olympic gold medalist Park Tae-jun, who first won here in 2022, once again proved why he is one of Taekwondo's brightest stars. But this year's Grand Prix Challenge in Muju was about more than just medals. In line with the Olympic spirit of inclusion, organizers invited athletes from developing nations and those with backgrounds as refugees. A total of 5 refugee athletes joined the event this year.
In this physical preparation I did in the Taekwondo in Korea, it was, I didn't try before. So it was too much hard for me, and but a pleasure, and I learned many things from the Korea. I have 2 dreams. First of all, I would like to say about the refugee people. My dream about refugee people, I would like to be a good example for the refugee people. Another, my purpose, of course, I want to finish my career with the Olympics medals.
Organizers said the Grand Prix Challenge aims to reflect Taekwondo's universal values.
We often say it's 213 countries plus 1, and that plus 1 refers to refugees. Taekwondo may be an Olympic sport, but as Korea's traditional martial art, it also stands for global peace and supports those in need.
From different corners around the world, these athletes have gathered here in Muju for this challenge to share the spirit of sports. And in Taekwondo, they found a bond stronger than nationality. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News, Muju.
It's raining everywhere today, the first day of September. This rain will continue until tomorrow. More than 80 millimeters of rain will fall in Chungcheongnam-do Province, more than 60 millimeters in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, 10 to 60 in the Seoul metropolitan area and inland areas of Gangwon-do Province, 20 to 80 millimeters in Chungcheongbuk-do, Jeollado, and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces, and 5 to 60 millimeters in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. Most of the heat wave warnings in the central regions have been lifted as rain has been falling. It only rose to 29 degrees Celsius in Seoul during the day today. The heat wave will ease off a bit tomorrow as well. Tomorrow morning, Seoul and Gyeongju will start off at 23 degrees, Busan at 26 degrees. Daytime temperatures will move up to around 30 to 32 degrees across the country. More showers are forecast for the Jeollado provinces and Jeju Island on Wednesday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us and thank you for now.